Hello, I'm back yet with another tutorial. This time we're not going to be doing coding. This is going to be a little bit of a different approach. We're going to do the design first. Once we have that done and we're happy with it, then we're going to go implement that in code. So I'm assuming in this project that, let's say we're approached by this credit card company or a banking company, and they're releasing this new product. They have these credit cards. They want to launch them. So they want a very nice, clean website, and they want to have a nice product page that looks clean and modern. So that's the approach we'll be taking. We'll be using Photoshop for this, but of course you can use whatever you feel comfortable with. So I'll show you the tricks and tips that I have learned over the years doing this. The first thing then you do is go and start looking for color palettes. So I went online and I usually go to this website to pick up my colors. So the one I picked is this clean and modern. So now in Photoshop, as you know, or if you don't know, you can do 3D models as well. So that's why I didn't want to just put a static credit card image. I wanted to take this to the next level and had a nice 3D image of a credit card. So what I did is I created this, I guess, 3D object in Photoshop. If you guys want me to create a tutorial on how I did this with the lighting, shadows, and the reflections, then let me know and I can definitely make a video on that. Anyway, so that's the 3D thing. I've rendered it, then I exported that out as a PNG, and now we have that. So we're gonna bring that when we have to. What I'll do is, the first thing I'll do is I'll just come here and call this my background. So the background we want to have is that kind of teal color, I think it was. So I'll come here, select my paint bucket tool. I'll come over here, and then the code that I see from that website is 3AA FA9. All right, so here we go. That's our background. So now we want to have a sidebar. So the way I do this is I create these guides, and one thing I always do is put my guides into pixels. So currently you can see that in pixels. If yours are in centimeters, then what you can do is come over here to preferences, then you want to go to general, and then you want to go over to, I think it's units and rulers, yeah. So you want to set this to pixels. All right, so once you have that squared away, so then what we do is just roughly come over here, and I'll just say, okay, you know what, my sidebar will be minimized, and it'll be around 100 pixels. So I'm gonna stick one at 100 pixels. I'll go place the others, and then I'll come back. Okay, so now that my guides are placed, I'll just explain to you guys what they are. So here's my sidebar that's about 100 pixels wide when it's minimized. Then right here, starting from this point, which is around 200 pixels point, that's when I'll be displaying the name of the product, a little bit of description or main points, maybe an add to cart button, and maybe social media icons. Then starting from here, which is around 500 or 600 pixels point, that's when I'm going to display the main image, because that's what the client wants. Then right here at the 1600 pixels point, I'll be displaying the variant options. So this is, by the way, a 1080 1920 canvas. So if I go to image size, you can see it's a 1920 by 1080 full HD. So now that I have my guide set, why don't we start with the sidebar? So I'll just come here to my selection tool, and I'll just drag one over here. Then we'll grab the pen bucket tool, and I want to have that dark color that we chose. So the code for that is 17252A. Select that, and there we go. All right, so this has placed this on the background layer, which is not what I want. So I'll Control Z that, and then I'll add a new layer, and I'll just hit it, and we will say sidebar. You want to keep things on separate layers because it'll be much easier later down the road. All right, so I'm just going to hit Control D to deselect, and then so that's my sidebar right now. What I want to do is maybe add the Hamburger Icons. So that's fairly easy to do. I'll just zoom in, and actually no, I'll just keep it here. What I'll do is I'll just grab the line tool and we'll just draw 3 circles. So I'll just draw that quickly. All right, so I've actually just drawn one, but I'll show you guys one thing you want to do is you want to come over here and the end corners, I'm just going to make them rounded. Just give it a nice look. And then the other thing I want to do is set the point to 10 because that was a little bit too thick. So now I'll just duplicate it and then move it over to the corner. Okay, so with this done, what I'll do is I'll come over here, select all 3, hit Control G to group them, and then I'll call this the hamburger. So I've kept 20 pixels between them just to be consistent. Now I'll just take this and move it over here. Now you can see it's quite big. I'll hit Control T, and then I'll hit the Shift and Alt key, and we'll just make it a little bit nice smaller. Okay, so these are too fat. What we need to do is definitely shrink them down. So I'll hit the shape, and then if you don't see the option to play with the smart object, I think that's what it's called. What you want to do is just come over here and select the path selection tool. Yeah, so what you want to do is just come here. Let's make it 5. Yeah, I think 5 is better. So I'll just do that to the rest. Okay, so I think that looks much better. We can always change it. So I'll just leave it for now. Okay, so now that's our menu icon. So we'll assume that the menu is minimized. We're gonna add the icons here on the side later on as we go. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to add the product name and maybe a little bit of some description. And I'll add carbon. All right, so I guess I'll make this, let's see, 72. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And we will just try to put it somewhere in the center. We'll move it later on. Now I want this to be bold because that's what we're trying to sell. So I'll come here and I'll switch this to bold. Now the font that I'm using is Montserrat. You can choose a different font, but I like this font a lot. So I'll choose Montserrat. And for color, what I'll do is I'll come over here and choose that 17252A, which is the same color for the sidebar. So I'll keep it that same color. The other thing I want to add is, let's say one of the main feature of this is, it's no fees. So I wish credit cards were like that. So I'll come here and I'll say no fees. Now I'm not gonna have this too, I guess, prominent, so I'll drop this by 10 pixels or 10 points, maybe even 10 more. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. So 52, that's what I'll do. And I want to have this a separate different color. So what I'll do is, there was this other color that we had, it was the DEF or maybe FEF. Actually I'll do that. Let me try that. So if I do DEF to F1, how does that look? That's not bad actually. I don't want to go completely wide. I just want to keep the colors consistent. So I'll do that. Now I want this to start from this edge. So I'm going to have to slide these over. I hit shift. Yeah, that looks good. Now we're just going to add a couple of points to this, like comes with a bunch of features. So let me add those quickly and then I'll be back. Alright, so I've added the other features that this card has. We're going to select these, and the first thing I'll do is I'll change the color to that other color that we used. So I think that was DEF to F1. That's what it is. And I don't want them bold. I'll just have them maybe light. And I'm going to definitely drop them by a couple of points, maybe even more. That's probably... How about 28? Yeah, 28 is good. I don't want this to bleed out of this edge, so we'll keep it here. And I'll just bring it a nudge down. I think that's okay. All right, so now we have this no fees carbon thing going on. One thing I've noticed is actually I want this carbon to be even bigger, so I can actually just keep increasing this until I know. Yeah, I think that'll work. I want this to be really bold. I'm just gonna bring it down. So there you go. All right, so I'll just take this and hold shift and just give it 2 small, just strokes. All right, so now that we have this in place, I think that looks good for now. What we want to do is we're gonna bring in the card and add that. So I'll bring in the card now. All right, so here's the card. Now I'm just gonna Control AC, and we're just gonna bring it here. All right, so here's the card. And let me see if I drag one, and let's see if this thing will show me the middle. All right, so there you go. That's the middle of this document. And right about here is, I think we should be okay. So I'm gonna get rid of that. I'll name this, I'll say credit card. All right, that's one. The other thing I'm gonna do is I'll come here and I'll call these, I'll group these and let's call them main points. Oh, I spelled points wrong. PO. Okay, so now that I have this, the other thing I want to do is I want to add a button here. That will be like the add to cart button, and then I want to add some social media icons. But before I do that, let's add some text at the bottom. Let's say this will be the those hidden, terms and conditions. So I might add some Lorem Ipsum. So I'm gonna go grab that, and I'll be back. All right, so I got my Lorem Ipsum. I'll just hit this guy. I'll just hit it. All right, so that's huge. We need to drop this to like 14 or maybe even smaller, because the whole point is you don't want anyone to read these, and when you complain then they can throw that in your face. So here we are. We're just gonna throw this right here, probably 80 or 100 pixels. Let me see how's the color looking. Ooh, no, not good. All right, so I need to change the color to, I'll make this kind of, you want it to be there but also not there, so that's the idea. All right, so that's that. The other thing I want to do is add the button here and the social media icons. All right, so what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'll grab the ellipse tool or maybe the rectangular tool. So let's try to add a button kind of right here at a 75% mark of the document. And let's see, that looks okay. Right, so I don't want this to have any borders, but what I want to have is the color. So that's the color that we use for the sidebar, so we want to be consistent. And what I want to do also is just make it nice and rounded. So I think I'll go for something like 32. That looks pretty good. All right, let's see how are we doing on the size. I think I could increase the size a bit. Let me see, I could go, yeah. And I'll take this and just bring it so that we're all put it against this this edge. Now I do want to increase this. Yeah, I think that's better. So how about 42? That's nice. I'm liking this. Okay, so we got that. Now I'm just gonna add the add to cart button. Actually, I want this button to just span the entire this entire space. There you go. And what about height? How about I make it like that? Right, because we want this to be nice and prominent. So what I'll do is I'll come here and we'll add in all caps, add to cart. Alrighty. I want this to be, and we're gonna make this bold. Okay, because we want this to be bold. Let's place this somewhere in the center. Right, and this is the same color as that, no fees, I think. Let me just make sure. Yeah, there you go. All right, so there you go. Okay, so now that's the add to cart button, and below that, along with this, we're gonna add the social media icons. So I'm gonna go hunt down, I don't know where I put them, but I'll go bring my social media icons. All right, so here's my social media icons. I colored them black just to match the rest of the theme, and I don't want to have them in their own color, so I'm just gonna stick them on this side, and so that's where they're gonna go. I think that looks nice here. Now coming over here to the right side, this is where we are going to have our variations. But one thing I see is the background is very boring and plain, so we might want to add a little bit of a I don't know, gradient. So for that, what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'll add another layer. Okay, so now that I have the gradient layer, let's add the gradient. So what I want to do is I want to take the background that I have first of all, and I want to darken it a bit. And you'll see why I'm doing this. So I'll come over here and select this paint bucket. I'll select this color, and then I'll just come over here, maybe somewhere here, and let's choose that. And then I'll slap that onto the background. So there you go, it's a bit darker. Then I'll come over here, I'll come over to my gradient. I'll come over here to my paint bucket, select the gradient, make sure radial is selected, and then you want to come over here and pick your color. So I'll choose my color, and what you want to do is hit OK, and just somewhere in the middle, just drag like that. So as you can see, it brightened up a bit. Maybe that's not too good, so let's try this again. I'll take this and take the color, and I'll just go up a bit, somewhere here. So let's try that again. Okay, there you go. That's a little bit better. You want this to be very subtle. Don't overdo this. And what I might do is I might darken the background a little bit more, just a nudge. I'll select the paint bucket tool and make sure I'm on the background. There you go. That looks better. Right, so now that I have that in place, why don't we go ahead and start adding the variance. So what I can do is I'll just minimize this, and let's add a circle or a bunch of circles. So I'll select the ellipse tool, I'll come over here, start dragging, then hold the Alt and Shift, and maybe somewhere here I'll just draw these circle. So I don't want, let's see, I don't want any borders, but I don't want a background. So okay, so now that I have this, I'm just going to duplicate this 4 times or whatever variance you have. I'll hold the Alt key and start dragging, then hold Shift. Okay, and then I'll hold it again, Alt, Shift, 14 pixel, then I'll again start click my mouse, hold the Alt key, start dragging, and then Shift to, come in one center line. All right, so the way we're going to do this is, what I'll do is I'll come over here to the credit card, and I'll just say Control A, CV, so I'll duplicate it, and I'll select it, bring it here, I'll hit Control T, and then with Alt and Shift, I'll minimize it and try to fit this into right here. So maybe that'll do it. All right, so once you have that, then we're just going to duplicate this. All right, so now that we have that, the other thing I want to do is I want to have the selected one kind of stick out, or maybe have a background. So, and then also have a different color. So the way we're going to do this is I'll just try to find the other. So let's say I take this one, and I'm going to have this a maybe gray color, and then the same for this one. I'm going to have that same gray color. So I'll repeat that. Right, so what we're trying to say is the one that's selected that has a different color, and maybe let's give it a little bit of a drop shadow. So I'll double click. We'll say drop shadow, and the shadow I want to have maybe just like that. So it's like doesn't look like a shadow, looks like a glow. And yeah, it's subtle, but it's there. And maybe I want to move. Now that's fine. So there you go. So now you have that. So these are the different products. So you can click on them, and it'll show you the different products. I'm thinking when we implement this, we'll have this slide either from top, bottom, or whichever side. We'll decide that later. Now let's add that final touch. So what I can do is select the credit card, and let's try to add a drop shadow to that. So when I do that, it actually looks very ugly. It's not what I want. So the trick is that I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to put this behind it, and I'll call this CC shadow or credit card shadow. Then what I'll do is I'll come over to filter, blur, and let's see if I can do a Gaussian blur on this. And let's how about, actually I want to bring this right here. Now let's try. So I'll go to filter, blur, a Gaussian blur, and let's see if that's good. All right, so about 42, I'm happy with that. I'll just bring this here, and we have the glow, we have this, and I think it's looking pretty good. Now the other thing you might want to do is start adding icons on the side. So I'll go grab the icons and we'll add these. All right, so here are my icons. I got them from online, but you can create these yourself. I'll show you how to create one, and I'll just stick them here on the side, and I change the colors. And the way I change the colors is just double click on one of them, let's say, and if I can, and then you're going to select color overlay and then just change the color to whatever you like. I'm matching with the rest of the theme. So I'll add the log out button. So I'll show you guys how you can create this on your own. It's fairly straightforward if you're a little bit of good with Photoshop. So let's come over here and select the ellipse tool. And what I'll do is I'll hide the credit card so we can focus on that. I'll come over here and I will actually just start dragging. I'll hold the Alt and Shift key and we'll just do something like this. All right, so you got that. So that's obviously too big. So I'll make this 10. And the other thing I want to do is I'll come over here to the corners and give it some rounded corners. So now we want to do that power or log out button, which is that kind of circle with a cutout and then there's a bar. So what you do is, let's say I want to make a cut here maybe, and I want to make a cut here. All right, so I have that. So I'll grab my selection tool, drag a selection like so. All right, so then what you want to do is you want to come over here to the convert point tool, and I mean there's a pen tool and all. So I want to add hit the add anchor point. I want to grab that and I'm going to drop one here, drop one here. Then what you want to do is go back, select the convert point tool, select the middle one, and then hit delete. All right, so that takes care of that. I'm going to hit Control D to get rid of that. I want to drop that bar here. So straightforward, just come over here, select the line tool, and using your judgment, just drop one in the middle. I like so. So that's fairly good, I think. Now that's done. So what I can do is grab these two layers and group them. Now I'm going to call this log out. So let's make sure I got everything. Yep. All right, so I'm going to hit Control T, and with Alt and Shift, I'm just going to make it nice and small, and let's bring it here, somewhere here, and maybe I can make it more small. As you can see, the thing got a little bit fat, so we need to fix it. So I'll just come here, no problem, expand that and come select the shape. If you don't see those, remember, select the path selection tool, and let's make this actually half 5. Yeah, that's much better. And I'll do the same for the other thing. I'll make this 5. Yay. And one thing I'll do is also make the caps rounded. Yep, see, that made it rounded. All right, so that's that. Now if you want to match the colors with the rest, that's fine. But if you want to do that, just come over here to the group, double click on it, select color overlay, and since I had that color selected, it chose that. But if you want to mute it a bit, then of course you're more than welcome to do that. But yeah, you play around with that. So now let's remove all these guys and take a look at what we got. Alright, so here's the final design. As you can see, looks simple, looks futuristic, look modern, looks elegant. Things are on, I guess, in their own spaces. So you got the menu, you got the description, we have got the main thing that we want, which is for people to click this and add to cart, and we have the main image and the variance. I guess you can apply this technique to excuse me, other product pages that you have. And I guess in the next tutorial we will take this out of the design phase and implement this in actual CSS, HTML, React, or whatever we try to use. So, and if you guys want me to make the next video to where we actually code this, then just drop me a line. Please like and subscribe, and I am out.